All right, so now we've gone ahead and graphed, okay, and this is still lesson Algebra 2, lesson 6-8. All right, so looking at our graph, we can see that we're crossing over somewhere between 0 and 1. So let's go to our table, and we see that we have, at -1, we have a -2, and at 0, we have a 3. So there has to be a 0 somewhere between that -1 and the 0, okay? All right, so we know that our list was right up here. Okay, so numbers between 0 and -1 would just be that plus or minus 1/2, maybe a 1/4, maybe a 3/4, a 1/8, or a 3/8. So we would want to check some of those. So let's go ahead and change our setting, and let's just change it so we can look at -1/4. That would be 0.25. Okay, so if we look at that value, let's go back to our table, and you can see -0.25 is a 1, so that's not going to be a 0. So let's try -1/2 next. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to my table set, and I'm going to try -0.5. That's -1/2. So go back to my table. Is that a 0? And it is. So I know which ones I want to try because I made my list already. So -0.5 is a 0. And that appears to be my only rational 0 because it only crossed the x-axis one time. So I only have one rational 0. So that one was indeed in my list. Now also remember, on the calculator, you can also go and find the 0 if you go second calc and you go to number 2. And number 2 is to find my 0, and then I got to put the value on the left side, hit enter, and then go ahead and put it on the right side and hit enter. I don't want to make a guess, I'm just going to hit enter on that. And you can see the 0 is -0.5. So don't forget how we found zeros before, that still will work. Okay, this is just another way. So I now know my 0 is -0.5, either way you do it. All right, let's try the last problem. Okay, first of all, we're going to find all the zeros of the polynomial. So again, I might want to make my list. So I have this value of 30 and divided by the lead coefficient of 1. So just to make my list, I need all these factors. So I need 1 plus or minus, 2, 3, no 4 or 5, 5, and 6. And then we have 3 times 10, 2 times the 15, and 1 times the 30. And of course, the only factors of 1 are plus or minus 1. So my list is only going to be these values divided by 1. So I'm just going to do a list plus or minus 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, and 30. So these are my only zeros. So let's go ahead and look at a graph of this once again. I'm just going to turn this one on so you can see the graph there. I have the polynomial already put in. I'm going to take a look at the graph, and you can see this time the graph goes 3 times. I'm going to look at my table and see if any of these are going to be in there. So I got to go back to my table set and go back to 1. And let's see if we have any zeros. Let's move up here. Oh, we do. Okay, so here's one. -5, and of course -5 was in my list. So -5 is a 0. -3 is a 0. And we have -2 as a 0. So again, a real fast way to find the zeros is just to do a quick graph. Verify in your table that you have zeros in the y position, and boom, we've got our 3 zeros already, and notice they are in our list. All right, we'll give these a shot. 2 through 24 evens on page 393. Thank you.